Most of you have already seen the video that I have done where I explain what Antifa does, who they are, essentially giving you a rundown of everything that they have done in the past and what they are currently doing today. If you haven't seen it, I definitely suggest you watch it because I put a lot of footage in there, put a lot of photos in there, and it's a lot of my personal experiences dealing with Antifa over the years as a filmer. So that's fun. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. But since I've made that video, I've had a lot of people ask me to do a video showing you exactly what their tactics are and the weapons that they use and so on. So in this video, that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to show you guys pictures and footage of the weapons, the way that they do things that they've done in the past, and showing you the organization and the resources that they have. So this first picture here, you guys can see that they have bricks that they've broken up into throwable pieces. You have an asp, you have chain, you have a whole bunch of knives, a couple hammers, a hatchet, a taser, pepper spray, bear mace. There's a torch in there. There's actually some pig stickers in there. There's some crowbars. There's all sorts of stuff in here. And this is just from one incident where they arrested a couple people who were assaulting patriots at a rally, and they arrested some people, and these are the things that they confiscated from those people that they picked up. In the second picture here, you can see bats, 2x4s, an axe handle, helmets, and you know, the helmets aren't necessarily just for protection. They're also weapons. You take a helmet off and you start swinging it. Guess what? It's a weapon. And you can also see a knife. This is from a separate incident where people have been picked up for assaulting people at rallies. In this next picture here, you can see there's a 2x4 and it has a nail. There's an arrow pointing to the nail there at the end of it. And they use that 2x4 to swing like a bat, but also they have the nail there to stick people with as well. In this next picture here, you see hammer, road flares, gloves, some fireworks. You also, one very common thing to see at some of these things are Molotov cocktails. And fire is definitely one of their favorite weapons that they like to use. In this picture right here, you can see this happened just a couple weeks ago. Confiscated. There was a bag left in one of the parks in front of the Justice Center in downtown Portland, and there is a couple Molotov cocktail jars ready to go, very large mason jars, plus a couple magazines that were also in the backpack. I also wanted to take a moment during this video to show you guys about their organization. So in this first picture here, you have a guy, he's got a cigarette in his hand, and he has a radio on his shoulder. Now, I'm sorry for it being a little grainy, but this is taken off of one of my live streams that I took in downtown Portland a couple of days before making this video. This other picture right here, you can see another radio on the guy's shoulder. And this picture was taken in Seattle during a Back the Blue event that was going on up there. This van that you can see, it says no pity on it. It has a red cross on it to make it appear like it's a medic van. They like calling vans like these snack vans. They'll have bottles of water, a couple quote unquote medical supplies like first aid equipment, and so on. However, if you ever see this van, you will also notice that there are what appear to be uniformed people inside of it, wearing vests and patches on their shoulders, and they will also have screens up in the van. Usually they're like phones or iPads, and what they're doing is they're watching everybody's live streams. Now they watch these live streams for two reasons. One, to monitor how the situation is going, and two, to monitor people like me who go out there and film, and they can go, hey, so this person's here, this person's there, this person's here, they're filming stuff that's bad, go get them. So this is one thing, whenever we see this van out here, when we're live streaming, we usually don't live stream for very long because guess what? They can find us. So when you see days where I don't live stream, this is one of the reasons why. We do a good recon. Sometimes we send people out to check out and see if there's quote unquote snack vans or people just hanging out watching live streams. That's kind of a clue that we should not either A, be out there that night, or B, at least not be live streaming. because, again, this is a very dangerous situation. As you've seen from the weapons that we already previously showed you, it's not a safe place to be. And, of course, by now, I'm sure all of you have seen the guy who got pulled out of his truck after he tried running away, after he was trying to save a trans person from getting beat up by a couple thugs. He went and got kicked in the face. So, I mean, this just kind of gives you an idea about the brutality of these people that we have to deal with also when down here. One last thing I wanted to show you guys too was also the Puget Sound John Brown Gun Club, as well as Redneck Revolt. These are two pictures here that I'm showing you that these are armed Antifa groups. This is a armed faction of Antifa. These people go out and they LARP. They all have, pretty much their battle ready fatigues. They have vests, they have guns, they have knives, they're essentially a militia for Antifa. Both of these groups are also extremely well organized, and yes, they are trained. There are some vets that are part of this. They spend a lot of time going out into the woods and shooting guns, LARPing, and being quote unquote prepared for anything and everything that could possibly come. This is very real. Antifa is very real. They have multiple groups. They're very public groups. Now they say, we're not Antifa. We're the Youth Liberation Front. It's Antifa. We're not Antifa. We're Rose City Antifa. Oh, that's weird. Their name's in it. We're not Antifa. We're John Brown Gun Club. We're not Antifa. We're Redneck Revolt. We're not Antifa. We're Black Lives Matter. Now, they have their different subgroups, sure. And Black Lives Matter is separate from Antifa. However, the enemy of my enemy is what? My friend. And so they do a lot of coexisting. They do a lot of, hey, we're going to go do this. You guys want to come too? They do a lot of that. And you can see it all over the place. You have a whole bunch of scrawny little white kids sitting there breaking stuff, and then Black Lives Matter goes running in and loots. Like, you see it all the time. So I just wanted to take a minute and show you guys this stuff, show you the reality of the situation that America is currently facing. People say that Portland is not under siege because, yes, Portland is a large area and it only happens in certain areas, certain parts of Portland every single night for the last 80-something days. But yes, Portland's still under siege. Good example of how Portland's under siege is how there's no police officers during the day or even at night to be able to respond to calls. Things are happening all over the city, but yet officers, because of their funding getting taken apart, because of groups being taken apart, because of the 300 plus vacancies being wiped off, disappeared, gone, Portland is under siege by criminals. Portland has to put all of their resources to deal with these protests, these riots, and so on, that there's no other officers out there to be able to cover what really needs to happen. And because of the district attorney saying we're not going to, press any charges, the state patrol took off too. Because what's the point? Why arrest these people if they're not going to go to jail? Portland is under siege. Just because one block is on fire, the whole city suffers because of it. Antifa is real. Antifa is a real threat to America. Not just Portland, but America. We saw it in Chicago, last weekend? We saw it in Atlanta repeatedly. We see it in Minneapolis. We see it in New York. We see it all over the country. And yet these liberals, these Democrats, still want to sit there and say, we don't need the police. Guess what? I hope they continue to say it, because eventually, when Americans realize that they're no longer safe, when Americans finally wake up to the idea that maybe we should have kept the cops, a lot of these blue cities will turn red really quick.